How's that for timing? I don't know how many of you know that song, but we have the founder of the band that created that song. We'll hear a little bit more about that in a few minutes. I'm David Marscalf, I'm the CEO of the museum. I'm just delighted to have everybody here tonight for another evening with. We've got a wonderful speaker tonight, and I'm just delighted at the turnout. I just wanted to take a very brief moment to just tell you very little bit about the museum. This will take 1.5, 2 minutes at the most. We are a private, not-for-profit charity, and we are not owned by the region or city, and I'm being told that most people don't know that. I'm also told that I can control this. Each year we must apply for funding, and the municipalities give us a revenue stream representing about 22% of our operating budget. Most museums in Canada get 50, 60, 70%, or in the case of the Waterloo Regional Museum, 100% each year. That means we're chasing 75% of our budget to put on great shows and exhibitions and to bring in great speakers like tonight. That's one of the things we do, is to host great events. We've had, in the past, an evening with, we've had everybody from hockey player Cassie Campbell to CPC personality Gian Gomeshi, Titanic and Avatar producer John Landau, and recently sex expert 84-year-old Sue Johansson. Not sure what she's describing in that photo, but actually I recall now what she's describing in that photo. Last year, Dave Morneau came to me wanting to give back to the community and to do something around baseball. We met briefly, and I suggested an evening with Fergie Jenkins, and away we went. It was a great success, and I thank David, who is right there. Thank you very much, David, for the inspiration and to help partnership, and he supported last year, brought lots of people to this, and supported this year. Tonight, we will raise over $7,000 for museum operations, and that's awesome. Thank you, everybody. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Mr. Sub, who have been very helpful promotionally, and 570 News, who have helped us, and BIMAs, who have been very supportive since the beginning. What we do with that money is to awe, inspire, and enlighten children from across this community. And there's all sorts of great examples, from rock carvings from China that we've brought here to cool events and licensed events in the evening and all sorts of wonderful educational programs. So that concludes the commercial, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes. We're on our feet swinging, and we're woefully underfunded, but we're doing some great things, and I stand by the great staff here and the wonderful things that we attempt to do. Thank you. Applause, please. Okay, so I'm just going to invite our special guest to the stage to sit now, because I need you, Mr. Alomar, to be a part of our opening first pitch. JC, do you have the ball? Who has a baseball? Is it signed? Okay, well, have we got a deal for you? So rather than "Oh Canada," I'm going to get JC to come up on the stage here. JC, can you step up over here? And this is Dave Morneau's eldest child. And we're just going to wait until I know we've got this, some cameras. Yeah, I don't know what he said, but don't hiss the fish tank. Okay, have we got enough cameras? Everybody ready? On 3, 2, 1. There it is. So we'll figure out that baseball and we'll get one signed for you, and thank you very, very much. I might sign it, but we'll get one signed for you. Thank you very much. Yeah, have a seat, Robbie, and we'll just keep going. Tonight's format will be questions and answers, and I'm delighted that author and musician Dave Bidini accepted our offer. David is the only person nominated for Genie, Gemini, Juno, as well as CBC's Canada Reads. David is the founding member of the Rheostatics, and you just heard their song, Alomar. And he has written a dozen books, including On Cold River, Tropic of Hockey, and his most recent, Keon and Me, My Search for the Lost Souls of the Leafs. In his spare time, it's not a comedy, actually. In his spare time, David writes a weekly column for the Saturday Post. Please welcome to Kitchener-Waterloo, Dave Bidini.
I gotta get my picture up there, Dave. They know what I look like. I'm standing in front of them, so. Hey, folks, great to see you. Before we proceed, I just wanted to point out, take my hat off to one of Kitchener-Waterloo's great baseball fans, 92 years old this year, from KW, makes it to a bunch of Blue Jay games every year, fights the traffic to sit in the dome. Joe Kelly, I think, is at the back of the room somewhere. Joe is just, there he is, 92 years young. One of great ball fans. Attaboy, Joe. Awesome. Gets 2.5 Molsons in him, and he's good. I just want to talk a little bit about baseball and Robbie's influence and impact on me as a ball fan. Rheostatics would tour across Canada every summer, starting in 1985, and we still do, or my new band does. And you know, being a young Canadian musician on the road was often a harrowing experience. You know, you're playing in the worst bars to the worst people for no money. But because those tours happened in the summertime, we were a young band starting out, baseball was always there to comfort us. One of the first stops we ever had was, we went through Winnipeg, and we ended up staying at a place called the Royal Albert Hotel. One of Winnipeg's worst bars, but they had a stage and a club, so we played it. The first night we stayed in the Royal Albert, we were woken the morning after by the sound of ambulances. There was a dead man in the room next to where we were staying. They wheeled him out, so we knew we were in a sort of a difficult part of the city and a difficult and kind of terrible place. But I would spend the afternoons listening to the Jays on the radio, and no matter how kind of lonely, uncertain we were about our careers and our lives heading out across Canada, the Jays were always there, and baseball was always there on the radio. 1992, we were in Vancouver, British Columbia. We'd sort of risen in the ranks a little bit. We were staying in nicer places. Our careers were sort of coming together. But because we would end up often in the fall, our travel across Canada would dovetail with September, the pennant race, and in the case of 1992, the postseason. We found ourselves traveling east from Vancouver into the mountains in 1992. And the day we had to leave Kamloops was the day of afternoon game, Game 5 of the 1992 American League Championship Series. And we were, so tweaked to the Jays' success. They had obviously a great team that year, and they were in the postseason, and they were playing the Oakland A's, the fearsome, steroided, muscle-headed Oakland A's, who we hated, of course, naturally, because they would steal our lunch money, and they were sort of a bullying team. And but the Jays had played well, had a great year, and they're having a great series. Unfortunately, they went behind that game, 6-1. We were driving through the mountains. And the problem with driving through the mountains was occasionally we would lose the radio signal. And every now and then it would appear. So with the Jays trailing 6-1, we lost signal and we drove, and we were driving through Rogers Pass and Golden and Revelstoke and all the great towns in the Rocky Mountains. And every now and then we would come out of a curve, or we would climb a mountain to get on the top again on the highway, and the Jays it was 6-2, and then we would lose contact with the radio, and then we would come up on the mountain again, it was 6-3, and it seemed as if the Jays were mounting a comeback. Finally, they got close, and we decided we would just try to wait to where we could actually get a clear radio signal and stop the van. And I should also mention that that van, we had duct taped "Go Jays Go" to the side of the van panel because we were huge fans and we were from Toronto. So we parked the van along the side of the highway in this beautiful mountain setting. We had 2 guys in the band who were fans of baseball, 2 guys who were not. So me and Tim sat in the van listening to the game, and the other 2 got out of the van and went on sort of a little a hike along the side of the road. One thing led to another, and Roberto Alomar faces Dennis Eckersley. And while that's happening, the 2 other guys are by the side of the road, and all of a sudden a huge deer appears coming out of the forest right to the side of the road. And it appears as if the deer is going to come up to our friends, and they're blissed out because they're in the mountains, and this beast is approaching them. They're about to have this incredible communion with nature, the side of the road. But we're listening to the Jays game, and we all know what happened. Robbie takes Eckersley deep, and it's really the turning point in Canadian baseball history in a lot of ways, and certainly the turning point of this franchise, this organization that hadn't won much up until that point. So Robbie hits it out, and we start screaming, and the sound of our screaming frightens the deer, and the deer takes off, and our friends are still disappointed and begrudge me and Robbie that hit because it ruined their, this wonderful communion with nature. But it was a great moment, and it was it's imbued in my memory as a person and as an artist, and certainly as a Canadian, because it was such a defiant and triumphant moment. So it was at this point in my talk that I was going to introduce Roberto Alomar, but he's sitting right there. So let's go over. I'm going to go over and talk to him and start these proceedings. Hello. Thanks. So I'm going to ask a few questions. We're going to get the ball rolling, and then we're going to take questions from you guys. So think of some good ones. The first thing I wanted to ask you was about being a boy and playing the game, being introduced to the game, like your first wander into this sport. What are your memories? What are your impressions of being a 10, 11-year-old, and what the game meant for you, and what those experiences were like?
Well, if you know the story of my family, my father played in the major league. So I was blessed that I had the opportunity to grow up around baseball, surrounded by baseball players. My father used to take me to the games since a young age, and I had the opportunity to be surrounded by big league ball players. And I think as a kid, that's a dream that you will never forget. And from that point on, I decided to follow my father's footsteps. And
who were some of those players at that time that really left an impression on you, for better or worse? Because you would have been among giants of the game at that point.
Even though I don't want to say the Yankees, my father played for the Yankees.
That's too bad.
Yeah. In 74, 72, 73. So I got the chance to be surrounded by such a great player, the Kathy Shunter, Bobby Mercer. I can name you Mickey Rivers, Billy Martin, the manager, Thurman Munson. I can name you a lot of them. And then my father played for the Angels for 7 years. So I had the chance to talk to like Nolan Ryan and many others.
Were you a kind of sponge? Would you try to soak up information about the game, or would they help sort of tutor you? Would they offer that, or what was the sort of communication you would have with
I was the kid that always liked to ask questions because I wanted to be good at this game. And one thing that my dad would taught me is if you want to learn from this game, always ask questions so you can learn about the game. So, now knowing that I had that opportunity to be surrounded by Major League Baseball, I used to ask a lot of questions.
And going back a little bit before that, why second base?
My father played second base. But people don't know that I signed as a shortstop. And I never played second base in Little League. I always used to pitch or play outfield, but not second base. But when I signed professionally, I signed as a shortstop. And when I turned 19 years old, they asked me if I can try play second base because it wasn't opening.
Who was it that asked you? Who was the person? Do you remember?
San Diego Padres, the organization.
Okay.
Because it was an opening in the big league at that time. So I said, yes, I can play second base. So I started playing second base when I was 19 years old.
What was the greatest adjustment going from short to second?
It wasn't not a big adjustment. I think it was more of turning the double plays and just working with my dad. I think my dad was a second base in the big league for 16 years. So what better tutor what better teacher than him? So I just went with him to the fields and practiced every day, and I became better.
When you were a shortstop, was there somebody you emulated, somebody you sort of based your game around, somebody that you wanted to be like?
No, I never look at nobody. I just look at my dad. I think when you have a dad who had played for so many years, and I always admire the way he played the game because he was a no-name guy going out there playing every day. And he played for 16 years, so that means that he was a pretty good second baseman. But I learned from him. I always wanted to be like him. And I used to idolize all the guys, like, the Joe Morgans, the Ryan Sandberg, and many others. But my dad was the one that I always paid the most attention to.
By the time, when you ended up getting to the big leagues, do you remember your first at-bat?
It was so funny because my first at-bat in the big league, it was against Nolan Ryan. I used to play that's how baseball is. I used to be with him, talk to him about pitching for many years. And then I had to face him, my first at-bat. My first at-bat, I get a hit. The second at-bat, he knocked me down. He threw me in my head. After the game, he waited for me and he said, "Welcome to the big league, kid."
Nice, nice. Warren Cromartie, who played for the Expos for many years, talks about his first at-bat was against Doc Ellis. And he tells the story about all of the players on the team were very, very hard on him because he was a young rookie who came up and he wasn't given any quarter from the veterans. In fact, they were a little bit resentful that this kid was up there, was going to take his position. He talks about hitting a ball in the hole against the Pirates, and as he describes it, Cadillacing down first base like he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. The ball's going through the hole. He's looking at the dugout. Look what I just did. But Rennie Stennant dives into the hole, picks up the ball and throws him out by 5 feet. And he has to take that long walk back to the dugout, and everybody's yelling at him and cat call. But one of the things that he remembers about facing Doc Ellis, and I don't know if it was the same with Nolan Ryan, but was simply how terrifying Doc Ellis was looking in. Did Nolan Ryan have that kind of intimidating presence? I mean, he threw you, obviously, but what was that like, that impression?
Well, I was a little scared, when I went to the plate, but I have a job to do, and he has a job to do. I think growing up as a baseball player, like I said before, through the big league clubs, I knew what I was, how intimidated he was going to be. So I was prepared for that day. And at least I got a hit, and after that, everything from that point on went the right way.
We were so lucky and so grateful that you ended up in Toronto. I remember news of the trade breaking Tony Fernandez, Fred McGriff to San Diego, and Joe Carter, and some guy named Roberto Alomar coming to Toronto. Who could he possibly be? We thought. How was that? How did that news hit you when you found out? And how did you find out?
I was real sad because I was so young. I didn't understand why I was being traded. I just bought a house in beautiful San Diego, and so I didn't know what was going on. And then my agent called me at 6 o'clock in the morning. He asked me, "What are you doing?" I said, "What I'm doing? 6 in the morning. I'm sleeping." So I say, "I just want to let you know that you've been traded to Toronto." I didn't know. I didn't know what to say.
What did Toronto mean to you? What did that mean to you, the sense that you were coming here?
At that time, I didn't know Toronto. I didn't know anything about Toronto. So the first person I called was my dad. I called my dad and I said, "Hey, Dad, I just been traded to Toronto." And I was a little bit afraid because I was traded for one of the two most popular guys in the city. Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez, and nobody knew who I was. So, but my father, right away he said, "You're going to a great city. You're going to play for great fans. You're going to play for the greatest manager, Cito Gaston, and you're going to play for a great team. So don't feel afraid. Just go out there, show your skills, play the game the right way." And after that, my father was right. I came here, I did my job, and from that point on, everything was good.
Had you met Cito before? Was he not friends with your father at one point?
Yeah, I was friends with my dad. They used to play against each other, but my father speak real highly of him. And after I got to know Cito has become like my second dad, and he just let me play the game of baseball. And I think Toronto was the best move for me. Now I can say that. At the time I didn't know, but I'm so glad that I came here. And the most important thing as a ball player, when they don't know you, I think is the fans supported me since day one. Right away they knew my game, and right away you guys supported me. And I think that was it made me feel like home right away.
What were the main differences for you in terms of the organization, or just the way the Blue Jays did things compared to the Padres? Because the Padres in that era were in slight disarray. They seemed a little bit off course. The Jays had years with Gillick and Beeston trying to get things right. Was immediately a different feel for you coming to this team?
Well, San Diego was getting a little older when I came here. I think the Jays organization was ready to win. And when I got to see the players, I got to know the players, and I got to know Pat Gillick. I knew that they only had one goal in mind, that was winning. So we Pat Gillick and Paul Beeston, they brought the right guys to play. They brought ball players, not only name, but ball players. And I think we had a great pitching staff and great coaches. So and from that point on, everything was awesome. It was awesome to play for this organization, and I'm glad that I got traded.
Was there one player that you bonded with? Was there somebody that you were close to, or somebody that would have taken you under their wing, made you feel welcome?
Well, not a player, maybe a coach, Cito Gaston.
Oh, yeah?
He's the one who kind of, I bonded with everybody. That's something that I always had. I've been taught the right way. My dad taught me the right way. Always be good to everyone. And Posito he was the how can I say? He was the foundation of this team, and he kept us together. So I think he gave me open arms, just go out there, play the game, and he never put pressure on me, and he let me play.
And the rest of the team was fairly welcoming. Was there harmony in the team, or was there somebody that was maybe not so appreciative that you had arrived on the team, or was it fairly?
No. Everybody was good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody was great. I was more afraid of the fans. How was it they were gonna support me? Because knowing that Fernandez was so popular here,
right,
and Fred McGriff was so popular, so I was more afraid of the fans than the players.
Yeah, and it's beautiful that Tony comes back full circle to the team, right, for the second World Series run. And
yeah.
I want to ask you about the home run off Dennis Eckersley. Mel Didier, one of the Jays' head scouts, was a Dodgers scout in '88, and he had to scout the Oakland Athletics prior to the World Series. And the legend has it that before Kirk Gibson went up to face him in his famous home run, he had basically, he told him about Eckersley when he's behind in the count, uses the backdoor slider, and then again, and later on, he's connected with the Jays team on your home run. Approaching that at bat, was it the same kind of intel about what Eckersley? Were you prepared in that at bat about how he might approach you that part of the game?
I wasn't not prepared. I was prepared just to hit, looking for a pitch to hit.
Right.
And I think as a hitter, you just go out there and look for a pitch, especially when you have a guy such a dominant pitcher on the mound. You cannot be looking for a pitch. I was looking for a pitch that I can drive, especially in the inside part of the plate. And it was a lot of shadow, so I can, you have to be really concentrate yourself on that plate. But I was swinging the bat real well in the series, so I felt real comfortable at the plate, and I was looking for that pitch. He threw that pitch, and I hit it over the fence.
Yeah. It was a beautiful moment. It must have sounded and felt so good coming off that bat.
Sound real good.
And there's a story that people tell about, you coming back to the dugout and all the Jays team being up on the top step of the dugout yelling at Dennis Eckersley too.
Oh yeah, they were yelling at him. I think he did something in inning before that nobody liked, but...
What was it, Robbie?
I don't want to say it. In the heat of the moment, he kind of like went like this, pumped the fist towards the dugout.
Right.
And he said something that I don't want to say what he said, but I think he got everybody up, and from that point on, then we got him back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's so funny because now that I'm in the Hall of Fame with him, this is the first time that he talked about it.
Really?
And he came to me and he said, "You know what, Robbie? I still cannot sleep." And I said, "Why?" "That home run that you hit against me killed me." So I say to him, "Well, for me, it's the opposite." So it's funny, but he's a competitor, he's a great man, and he came and apologized for his actions, and everything was accepted. And say, "Hey, you are a competitor, I'm a competitor, and let's leave it at that."
Nice. There are a few ball players that are in the Hall of Fame for purely defensive reasons, Mazeroski and Ozzie Smith. But usually it's a combination. You have to be good with the bat and in the field. And you're certainly an example of that. You're exceptional defensively and a great hitter, such a great consistent hitter throughout your career. Ted Williams in The Art of Hitting talks about, whenever he would have a slump, he would always aim for second base. And he actually, and a lot of ball players wax on about their approach. What for you is the art of hitting?
Making contact. I think, it's for to become a great hitter, I think you just have to continue to work and continue to believe in yourself. I remember when I used to be struggling, where I maybe went like 0 for 8 or 0 for 7, I used to look for maybe a bunt or hit the ball the opposite way. You look at different things, but it mostly you just have to go out there, just see the ball and hit it. A lot of the time we become too mechanic, and then you don't do anything. And I think more if you're struggling as a hitter, you just have to go out there early, do some early work, and do some batting practice. Did you like to have a lot of information on the opposing pitchers when you went up there, or were you hitting more by feel? No, I think by me watching their pitch, we face this guy over and over and over again. I think you have to be your own teacher. Mm-hmm. And I always was a student of the game, and that's why I learned so much about this game.
And was that something would you go to Cito? He was obviously a great hitting coach before he became a great manager, but was he, important in terms of your progression and your evolution as a hitter in that regard?
Yeah, he taught me a lot of things about hitting. I think Cito was my mentor when I used to be, he used to always get me ready to hit. He always make me believe that I was going to get that guy.
And on the defensive side, you're coming to a ballpark, a turf ballpark, right, where the ball is very, very lively coming off the carpet. How difficult was it for you to make that adjustment in terms of fielding?
No, it wasn't difficult at all. I think if you go out there, like I said before, you have to go out there and practice and get the feel of the turf. And I used to take maybe 100 grounders almost every day. So I got the feel right away. I think it's about believing in yourself, that when you go out there and always anticipate that they're going to hit the ball to you.
We were talking about the home run. Do you have a defensive play over the course of your career, whether as a Blue Jay or otherwise, that sometimes you return to in your mind, in your memory, when you think about, how did I do that? Because that's what we were thinking.
Well, I know a lot of people talk about the World Series, the one that I dove behind John Olerud. I think that one was one of my top plays that I ever made in my career.
And was that a play that was based largely on sort of the instinct of the ball coming off the bat, or?
Well, it was I knew that the guy was going to pitch him in, so I was anticipating that he was going to pull the ball. So when Lenny Dykstra hit the ball, it kind of got a little bit jammed. So I went after the ball, and when I went after the ball, I didn't thought that I had a chance in the beginning. But the more I run after the ball, I thought I had a chance, so I dove and I caught it. It's tough to explain. I don't know.
No, that's great.
Sometimes you don't know how you get to so many balls and this and that, but
right.
I think it's more about instincts.
Right. 92 and 93, back-to-back years. Few players ever get to win one World Series, let alone two, and let alone two that, are together like that. You win in 92, then there's the off season, and some players come in and some come out. How can you characterize the differences in the two teams?
No, I think we won both ways, both years. So one team was more, we had a little bit much better hitting. The other team, we have a little bit more better pitching. But I think the key of success, or the key of winning for us, was that we kept our team together. We had a good chemistry, we had a great manager, we had great coaches, and you fans, we were sold out every day. So we just had a great team.
Yeah, and that era, certainly I think in Toronto and on Ontario, and really in Canadian sports history, was so rare, because I remember, like I said, going across Canada and being in Regina and being in Winnipeg and being in Vancouver and being in Victoria, and the bars and the clubs packed full of people wearing, the Blue Jay logos. And that, could you feel that as a ball player? I mean, I know David Cohn in the 93 parade, I think, or in the speeches in Skydome, talks about feeling the pride of Canada. Was that something that was obvious to you guys, that you were doing something that was completely unprecedented and historic and important in that way?
Yeah, we felt it. We felt the Canadian fans out there. It was spectacular. I wanted to be out there every day just to play for them. I think when you have such a 60 or 50 something thousand people out there cheering for you, right. It was great. So hopefully we get to that point again where we get the fans back and we start winning.
It's coming. Just a couple more before we go to the floor. Describe for us your vantage point watching Joe Carter do what he did in 93.
Well, I was just standing. I had the best seat in the house. I remember it was a 2-2 count, and the guy tried to throw a pitch inside, and Joe Carter hit it out of the park. And we started jumping. It was one of the greatest feelings I ever had. We didn't know what was going to happen in that game, so after Joe hit that home run, I think everybody was happy, and we did it again.
Did you? I mean, it's hard to look back and perhaps articulate this, but did you? The team was so great in so many clutch situations. Both teams were, but Did it surprise you the way it surprised so many of us, or was it something that you felt building that was going to come to pass?
Like the what?
When he hit that home run.
No,
Did you have a sense?
Yeah, we had a sense. We knew that we were going to win. That's the mindset that we had all the time. We believe in our team. We believe in all the guys. It wasn't only about me, or about Joe, about this, or the other guy, Paul Molitor. You know, it was about everybody. And I think that when you believe as a team, good things will happen.
It's hard to, when you look back, to pick a leader among that group, because there were so many giants and so many greats that were part of those teams. But in that clubhouse, were there players that led, and who were they?
Well, the leaders, I think you lead by example when you go out there and play the game of baseball. But if you're going to pick one guy in 1992, you have to say Dave Winfield, because he's the guy that had played for many years, and we used to look up to him. 93, I believe, Paul Molitor was the guy that we always idolized, the way he played the game. But I think the key of our success, it was Cito Gaston, because Cito kept this team together from day one. And I think when you build a house, the first thing you build is a foundation. And if you don't build a foundation the right way, what's going to happen? It's going to drop. So I think Cito kept that team together, and the coach did a great job. So I think from that, I have to give all the credit to Cito Gaston.
Well, and if he's the foundation of the team, then the designer is somebody like Pat Gillick, because the moves he would have made in '93 to supplement the core of that team, were brilliant. When you think about the players that you brought in, you mentioned Paul Molitor and some of the trades he made, and he brought you over, obviously, to the Jays. What's your relationship like with him, and what are your thoughts on the mark that he made on this team? And this
great relationship with him, with Pat. Pat was one of the smartest guys out there. When I was, people don't know this, when I was 16 years old, Pat came to Puerto Rico to trying to sign me for the Jays organization.
Wow.
But my father already had an agreement with the San Diego Padres.
Right.
And Pat said to my dad, well, I will get Robbie one day. so he got me in 3 years later, he got me back to Toronto.
Wow, amazing, amazing.
So my relationship with Pat is wonderful. And I had the chance to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011 with him. So it was a great honor.
Oh, yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that day and that weekend, the Hall of Fame weekend? You mentioned to me side stage that you met Fergie Jenkins. What's it like to be among, because you have players that stretch back to, other eras, legends of the game. What are some of the impressions of that weekend?
It is, as a ball player, it's like a dream come true. I felt like a little kid. I remember when I used to be a kid, a young boy, going through the ballpark. And I used to, like I said before, I used to play with Dolan Ryan. I used to take a picture with Hank Aaron. I used to talk to Orlando Cepeda. I used to watch Willie May. I used to use Joe Morgan's glove because my dad used to use his glove. Then I'm inducted into the Hall of Fame. And those guys are in the Hall of Fame. So imagine how I felt. It felt, as a ball player, there's nothing better than that. And the most beautiful thing is that people understand that, especially for me, you have to understand, I came from a real small town in Salinas, Puerto Rico. Only maybe 16,000 people. So coming from there, not knowing they speak English, not making a lot of money, we went to so many adversities in life that sometimes you are ready to quit. You don't want to play no more baseball. But I had a dream, and my dream was just to get to the big leagues. Not the Hall of Fame, but just to play the game. But then when you get into the Hall of Fame, and you have worked so hard, and then you see your family, the most beautiful thing is that you got to be inducted, and your family are watching the induction. My mom, my dad, they felt so proud. My brother was there, and especially the fans. I remember that they asked me a question: who you want to go who you want to represent the Hall of Fame. And I say, no question about it, the Blue Jays. So thank you. So that for me, that is the biggest achievement in my entire life, because I'm representing not only the Puerto Rican people, representing my family, but I'm also representing Canadians.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
So we'll just catch up a little bit about, you know, your role, the capacity with which you work with the Blue Jays now. For a lot of players, it's very difficult being on the other side of the game. You know, you've spent your life doing this one thing, and then all of a sudden, you know, one day it's done, and you're, you know, coronated at the Hall of Fame. That's a wonderful thing. But how was it for you, that transition from athlete to citizen?
It was hard in the beginning, but I was ready for it. I think as a ball player, you have to understand there's going to be always an end in this game of baseball. So I took it real positive, you know, with the support of the family. Remember, you guys have to realize that I had a dad who went through the same thing. And so I was ready for it. And after that, took some time off, and now I'm working for the Toronto Blue Jays as a special advisor. I'm real thankful that Paul Beaton gave me this opportunity. I'm also giving back a lot I'm working a lot with the J. Carey Foundation, giving back to the community, to the youth, doing a lot of super camp with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm dedicating myself more now to the youth, so hopefully they can stay in the right path in life. Now that I have this opportunity, to me it's more enjoyable giving back to the community than the game of baseball. So hopefully we can continue to do that.
Was that something that you were conscious of, something you wanted to do, you know, in your later years as a player? Did you think that you would want to be involved in this sort of capacity, doing these sort of things?
Yes, I always wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Especially here, you know, because when I came here, the fans gave me so much love from day one that now it's time for me to get back. You know, when I was playing, I was all baseball. And yes, I used to do a lot of charity work, but now I want to continue to do that. I think we as ball players who retire, we need to give more back to the community. We need to help the youth a little bit more, because the youth need these guys that they idolize. And hopefully they can be more Robbie Alomars out there.
Yeah, and they can play for the Jays. And are you seeing that? Are you seeing that growing in the camps, and are you seeing it growing at a grassroots level with Canadian baseball in this area? You know, we've all seen what's happened with basketball in this country and so many great young players. Do you see that on the horizon, that the game is starting to grow in that,
yeah,
in that sense?
I see like it's growing. You know, it's growing a lot. We went from going to super camp to 14 towns. Now we have 26 towns to go to. So I think that baseball is growing. Kids are real interested in baseball, girls and boys, because the game of baseball is not only for the boys, it's for the girls too. So I think we have the Toronto Blue Jays have done a great job with super camp.
So you meet a 13-year-old boy or girl at one of these camps, and they come to you for advice. What's the one piece of advice you would give to them if they wanted to go down that path?
To believe in themselves. I think you have to believe in yourself. You have to always dream big, so good things will happen. And if you believe in yourself and believe in going out there and practicing hard and dedicate yourself to whatever you wanted to do, they will achieve a goal in life.
Great advice. So I think we could take some questions from the crowd, Melissa, right now, if that sounds good. We've got a couple of microphones, I believe. That's one of them. Have you all been thinking of good questions for Robbie? Tell. There's a fellow right there in the front if you want to.
Stuck.
Oh, there might be some people at the back, so we'll get you a handheld there. Also, if you have any questions for me, I'm just throwing it out there.
So you talked at length about your bond with Cito Gaston and the bond with many players. I'm just curious if you had a favorite relationship on field, maybe even up the middle with a partner that you loved working with the most, and maybe why? Thank you.
Well, you talking about the Jays or
Favorite relationship of all time up the middle?
relationship?
You mean chemistry-wise?
My wife.
Good answer, Robbie.
I think chemistry-wise, I was good with everybody, but in the middle of the infield, Tony Fernandez, I had a great time with Tony Fernandez. You know, Cal Ripken, Gary Templeton in 1988. But to me, one of the best shortstop that I ever played was Omar Vizquel. You know, he was a great ball player. But chemistry, I had a great chemistry with all of them.
Hey, Robbie, thanks for everything. Just talk about your experience with playing with your brother and how much of a highlight that was in Cleveland for yourself and your entire career.
Oh, it was awesome. You know, I got the chance to play with my brother in San Diego, got the chance to play with my brother in Cleveland for 3 years, and got the chance to play with him with the Chicago White Sox. Those are dreams that as a young boy, I remember we used to play in Little League together. So when I had that opportunity in the big leagues to play with him, it was like a dream come true.
Hey, Robbie. I want to say it was awesome when you gave the tomahawk crossing home plate in 1992 against Atlanta. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
And obviously, when you lifted your hands against Zach, when you took him to deep right, I've heard that your brother didn't appreciate that. Can you expand on that at all?
Oh, my brother appreciated it, yes. My brother was in that game. You know, one of the reasons why I did that, when we arrived in Atlanta, in the airport, all the workers were jumping at us from all the planes. I never seen so many workers going like this to us. In my entire life, I saw like 200 workers, bam, bam, they were killing us. So when I got that opportunity, I gave it back to them.
Hi, Robbie. Congrats on the baby.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know where you think your special advisor role is going to go with the Blue Jays in the future.
Second base. I don't know. You know what I do. So you understand a little bit more about special advisor. What I'm doing now is I'm going a lot to the minor leagues to give advice to the minor league about how to get to the big league, or what you have to expect from adversities in life, not only in baseball but in life. And that's what I've been doing a lot. I think to be able for us to succeed in the big league, we have to develop ball players in the minor leagues. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to develop the players mentally wise, and hopefully they can become better players. But if I don't want to manage, I'm not going to say never, because you can never say never. But if the opportunity comes, maybe one day, maybe, I don't know.
When you're at bat and you're facing different pitchers and you know you want to receive maybe a certain pitch, and you know that the catcher is giving signals to try to fool you or work around you, how do you know what pitch to take? And you got to make a split-second decision when the ball's coming at you.
Well, you don't know which one you're going to take. I think you have to just look for a pitch that you can handle. I was a hitter that I always loved to hit the ball. I was always looking in and slap the ball away. So if you ask me how to explain that, I don't really know. But
what happens though when they start to pitch you out because they know you like the ball in?
Well, I don't swing. I don't swing until you get 2 strikes. But you never know when they're going to throw breaking balls. Sometimes, yes, I remember Cito used to help me out because some of the pitchers used to tip their pitches. But not everybody did that. So, but sometimes it is a game, it's a mind game.
First of all, I want to say, Jays are up 4-0 on the Phillies right now.
Awesome.
Oh, good.
And by the way, Dave, love your writing. Your live tweet of the breakup yesterday was hilarious.
Thanks, crazy.
Robbie, the game of baseball.
Hold on again. Who asking the question?
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Okay, I can't see you. Okay.
The game of baseball is becoming really more international as time goes on. And there's a lot of players coming from small and impoverished communities in Latin America. Do you think that the league is doing enough for these players to help them through the recruiting process and their lives during and after baseball?
Repeat the question again.
Oh, okay. Do you think that the league is doing enough for players throughout Latin America from poorer communities throughout the recruiting process and for their lives during and after baseball, getting acclimatized to the world and everything?
I think Major League Baseball is doing a great job. I think they have helped, especially the Dominicans and the Venezuelan kids, and if you look now, there's a lot of players coming from Cuba and Curacao. So I think Major League Baseball has done a great job, and they can hopefully they can continue to do that job. Hi.
For everything that you've done for baseball, for the Toronto Blue Jays organization. My question to you is, obviously you've made such a huge impact. What type of advice do you offer in your role as special advisor to the current players in the organization?
Well, like when I go to the minor league, for example, when I go to a minor league, if I see a guy kind of like is slacking a little bit or is not playing hard, you know, I put him to the side and we start talking. The main thing for a special advisor is just to try to make them comfortable, because I know we deal with different personalities in this game. Some of them are understanding, some of them don't understand. But if you become their friend, you make them feel comfortable, you make them feel wanted. I think the kids can play much better baseball. And but my advice to them is more to understand this game, to have patience, and to continue to work hard. If you don't work hard, then good things are not going to happen. And I think the main one of the key to success in this game is that I always tell them, this is an opportunity for you to become a Major League ball player. So, but it's up to you, because we can tell you, we can give you all kinds of advice, but you're the only one can control your own destiny. We cannot control your destiny. We can only direct you in the right path, but it's up to you. And my advice to the young kids is to stay in the right path, continue to do the right things, and good things will happen. But you have to believe in yourself and then stay in that right path.
Just to sort of understand the anatomy of it a little bit, so if there is a player who is having issues, or like you said, maybe not working as hard, is that when you'll get the call? Or is it just a regular kind of sort of set of rounds that you do? Yeah,
I just go around the minor leagues. I get to see them in the spring training, and I got to see them when they play now in some of the during the season, and I just continue to watch them play.
Are there any players among that group of young men that have really left an impression on you? People that maybe we want to keep our eye out for?
Well, like we have a kid named Pompey. He's a Canadian kid. When I first saw him, he was a great kid, but I believe he wasn't working as hard as he should be working, and now he's one of the best prospects in our organization. Sometimes the kids need to hear from guys who have played the game to believe in themselves. So, and we have many guys like that. Yeah. And, you know, you're always going to find those kind of guys.
Hey, Robbie, I just right over here.
Hey.
I want to know if you still catch the taste. And
I still do. But I don't have a commercial. No more.
I love the commercial as a kid, and I also want to know if you think that Roy Doc Holliday is going to be the second Blue Jay beside you in the Hall of Fame.
I hope so. You know, I hope not only him, many more to come. We have Carlos Delgado, Roy Halladay, and hopefully many, many, many more to come. I think this is good for the Canadian. It's good for Canadian baseball. It's good for the city and for the country that we hopefully more and more Hall of Famers can be inducted.
Just quickly, you brought up the McCain thing. We were playing in Vancouver, a show to a packed house, and the bass player turned to me and said, "Roberto Alomar's here." And I got a shiver. I was like, "Roberto Alomar?" It was a cutout of you that they were passing. It was one of those.
Hi. What would you say would be your favorite part of your career?
My favorite part of my career. You know, I have many of them, but let me see, I can pick 3. Making to the big leagues at a young age, 20 years old. Getting the chance to play with my dad, my brother, and myself in the All-Star game, and winning the World Series.
Yes, Robbie, you may not want to comment on this at the back. But when you talked about going around to the minor leagues and talking to players in the slump, what's the matter with Ricky Romero? I mean, how does that happen to a pitcher who's probably seems like the coolest guy on the mound, doesn't seem to have any pressure at all, doesn't seem to have any physical ailments, and all of a sudden, nothing happens? I mean, you may not be able to comment on that, but it's bewildering to me because you never see anything in the press, you never hear anybody talk about it, but yet he's down there in Buffalo and he still seems to be trying, but you may not be able to comment on it, but I'm just wondering if you could comment on it.
Well, I'm not a pitcher, so I'm a second baseman. No, just kidding. I have the chance to talk to him. I think it's more of a mental spasm. I think when he did so good in the first few years that I don't know if he didn't work hard enough. I didn't know if he lost his confidence. But sometimes you don't know what the guy is thinking inside. I think when he was sent down, not the first time, but the second time, I think he lost his confidence. And now, my only advice that I gave him is you have to work your way up. You have to keep your head up. Because the same way you went down, the same way you can go up. But you have to prove yourself. And I think it's getting tougher and tougher. And you know, Ricky Romero, if you get to know him as a person, he's a great person. He's a guy who worked hard. So just his velocity is not there. But hopefully he's confident. He needs to get more confidence in himself. I think he lost his confidence. That's my opinion.
Just using Ricky as an example, but in general, and I think the same is true for all pro sports, but would you describe baseball as a fragile game?
I don't really know. You know, I can only speak for myself. Like, the only way you can get better as a ball player, like, the way I got better is playing the game of baseball. I wasn't not involved in too much weight. I was always playing the game of baseball. I used to play baseball here in America, and I used to go play baseball in winter ball. Some of these guys, they kind of protect him too much. They come play here, and then they don't want to play winter ball. So I think that the more you play, the much better ball player you're going to be. That's my opinion about that.
What is your favorite food?
My favorite food? Arroz, habichuela, y pollo. Do you understand? Rice, beans, and chicken.
Classic. This one over here?
Yeah, Robbie, baseball has officiating review this year for the first time ever. Your opinion on it, and Do you like the way it's set up now? And if you would change it, how would you change it?
Well, I will not change it. I think the way it is now is good. It's about getting the play, getting it right. And I think it's good for the game. It's good for the umpire. It's good for everybody. You know, you're gonna make mistakes, but if you get it right, then you will not hear so many. You're not gonna see, umpires throwing guys out of the game and so many arguments. I think it's good for the game, and hopefully it continue to do so.
They were mentioning before about the triple play that wasn't in the World Series, and had there been video review, it would have been the first triple play in World Series history.
Here we go.
Hi, Robbie. You've talked a lot about coming to the Blue Jays from the Padres and how all the fans seem to accept you, but I think there's another part of that I'm interested in, and that's kind of, you're not the typical immigrant story, but you did come to Canada, and it's completely different than what you were used to growing up, I imagine. Was there any particular adjustments that you found either humorous or more difficult than others? And if so, is there any particular story about your time in Toronto where you just ran into something culturally that was just out of left field for you?
No, the only thing was coming through costume. But no, the people here was great with me. I don't know. I cannot say anything negative about this country. About the people here. You guys treat me with a lot of respect. Since day one, I got here, and I met a lot of great people, and I continue to do so. Canada is a beautiful country. I love, not because you guys are here, but I love Canada, and that's why I marry a Canadian. And even though I'm Puerto Rican, I feel like I'm 100% Puerto Rican. I grew up there. But I decided to, when I married my wife here, and now we gave birth to my first child, Lourdes Maria, and she was born here, so she's a Canadian, my little girl. So.
Hey, Robbie. Obviously, you had an amazing career offensively and defensively. But was there like a particular pitcher who just seemed to have your number throughout your career?
Oh, many of them. Pedro Martinez, J.B. Moyer, Tim Wakefield, many of them. I think when you're facing Major League ball players, Major League pitchers, they're real difficult. I think some of them I hit good, some of them not. Nolan Ryan was tough to hit. Roger Clemens, I can name a lot of them. But I was lucky enough at least to get one hit against them. So, and that's all it took.
Conversely, was there one player that when you saw that they were starting against you, you were like rubbing your hands together, excited to face them? Was there somebody that you really lit up over the course of your career?
I lit up a few guys. Yeah. I used to, I don't know names, but I used to lit up a lot of guys. Yeah.
Two more questions, folks.
Are we going to see you playing coach as a T-ball coach? And do you play any ball yourself now?
Well, I play in the super camp, I play with the kids. But about a coach, you say if I want to become a coach?
For kids.
For kids?
Yeah.
Well, yes, why not? There's no pressure when you have kids. when you are become a major league coach, there's a lot of pressure. But yes, I never say never.
One more question, folks.
Robbie, how do you see this whole PED situation playing out in terms of some of these players, such as this guy?
Yeah.
ever making it to the Hall? Will they just have to wait a certain amount of years, or do you think they'll just never have the opportunity that you've had?
Yeah, it's real sad because all these some of these players have the chance. I don't know if they use it or not because I never saw them, but they've been punished, and some of them are being guilty, some of them not. But what can I say? If one of the guys, some of the guys, you know, we're not voters. How can I say? The writers are the ones who vote for the Hall of Fame, and they real bitter about this situation. But I'm real sad about that situation because Roger Clemens, one of the guys that I really admire, supposedly he used steroids, but I don't know that. You know, I think you're only gonna be guilty until you proven guilty. So hopefully one day they might have the chance to be in the Hall of Fame. But you know,
So if you had a vote, would you vote him in, Robbie?
See, because the thing is that I'm in a tough situation because ball players are my family, and you can never talk about your family.
Yeah.
But if you guys have to understand that when you go into the clubhouse, there's a piece of paper on the door. They have rules. And I remember my dad always told me, all the time you come in this door, always read the rules. And don't break the rules, because you're gonna be punished. So if you break the rules, what's gonna happen? You're gonna be punished. And I can leave it at that.
Okay, that's a tough question to leave this on. It's been such a great night. We have some wonderful staff here, and we invited Andrea to stay here tonight, and she's giving me an evil look right now. But I just said, what if Robbie needs some help, maybe with one word in Spanish, English, and so on? And obviously, Robbie's English is wonderful.
Dímelo.
Andrea, can you ask Robbie in Spanish some question, please?
Do you want my mic?
Sure.
Robbie, you're going to have to answer this twice in 2 languages.
Oh, no.
¿Qué piensas del clima en Canadá?
Do you guys understand?
Back away from the mic, from the speaker. You're getting a little feedback. And say it one more time.
Okay, ¿qué piensas sobre el clima en Canadá?
Que pienso que el clima en Canadá está muy frío. Es muy frío y espero que se ponga un poquito más caliente en el verano.
What did he say? What was the question?
What she asked me is, what did I think about the weather here in Canada? What do you think?
It's really freaking cold.
It's good when it's hot, and it's bad when it's cold.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
Muchas gracias.
Listen, I wanted to thank Dave for the idea of Dave Bidini last year and Mark on our staff for making it happen coincidentally this year. David, that was awesome. A round of applause for David.
Thank you, David. No problem.
He's an author. You can find his books on Twitter. It's Hockey-esque, right? At Hockey-esque. And he's done us a great favor for being here tonight. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, folks.
We always acknowledge our dignitaries here tonight, and our elected official, Michael Harris, has come in to support. He said yesterday, I got out of something, I want to come here, and here he is with his Blue Jay shirt on. So thank you very much, Michael, for supporting us. For those of you who didn't get a chance to say hello to Robbie, he's going to be over here for a little bit. For those of you who did, let these people have a chance, please. There's lots of subs upstairs. The auction we're going to keep open for 10 more minutes. Jaguar for a weekend, signed Robbie Alomar jersey, which he donated. Thank you, Robbie. So please spread around and take some time. The left field beer is still available upstairs.
Delicious beer.
Delicious beer. He tried both.
Indeed, many times.
And Melissa. Where's Melissa?
Right there.
Melissa did everything for tonight and last year. Melissa, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah.
Okay, we're in talks with Roy Halladay for next year. Stay tuned. And I think I have one other commercial. There's Fergie from last year. We'll have Robbie up there next year. Oh, I missed it. On May 15th, a week Thursday, we open all the way from Egypt, Unwrapping Egypt. Tell your friends, come and visit, support us however you can. Thank you very, very much for tonight.
Big round of applause for David.
David, thank you.